This lecture is about accessing the GPIO pins that we've been talking about, accessing them through a Python program. So Python's the language we're using. We'll basically go through the functions that you use to access those pins. And by access, I mean to write to those pins and to read from those pins. So let's look at from the Python point of view. First thing you need to do is you need to use the GPIO library. So Python has Python for Raspberry Pi has a GPIO library just for controlling and observing these pins. So you're going to have to use that. So that means at the beginning of your Python program, you're going to have to import the library. So import rpi.gpio as GPIO. What this does is it imports this library called rpi.gpio, and by saying as GPIO, it gives it that name GPIO, a sort of a shorter name, so that when you refer to it later in your code, you can just say GPIO instead of saying rpi.gpio. So that's just a shorthand. So first, you import that. That'll be your first line of code. Then you're going to write a script, write a program, a Python program, that does whatever you want it to do. So remember, when you write this program, the first line is the import. When you write this program and you want to execute it, once you're done writing it, when you execute it, you need to have root permission when you execute it. So this is one of the constraints on Raspberry Pi and a lot of systems, where systems with operating systems, you don't want to. Basically, it's considered unsafe to allow the regular user to manipulate the pins, to do low-level hardware manipulation. This is a common thing. Operating systems often basically protect the low-level hardware from the user, right? So the idea is that maybe you don't trust the user might mess things up. Now, of course, we need to use the pins, so you need to override that. So what you do is you have to become root just for the execution of this program. To become root for the execution of one program, you use sudo. So you type sudo, but you prefix your command with that. So let's say your program is called test or something like that. So you type Python 3 test to run it at the command line. Now you're going to type sudo Python 3 test, and that will run it, but it'll run it as root. So you'll actually have sufficient permission to actually go ahead and manipulate the pins. Okay, so inside your program, first thing you're going to need to do is select your pin numbering mode. So these pins, they have numbers clearly, but they have multiple pin numberings. Two that we're going to talk about. There are two different ways to number these pins, and you have to define that at the beginning before you can even refer to the pins in your code. So the first way is to number the pins based on their order on the board, their order in the headers on the board. So what that means is, if you look at the picture up here, that means the numbers in the circles. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're just counting them off as they appear on the board. So those are shown in circles, and that's one way to do it, according to the numbering on the board. So that's the board way of numbering it. The other way is to use the Broadcom SoC number, SoC meaning standing for System on Chip. So that's from the perspective of the chip, of the microcontroller, what the numbers are from that point of view. And those are shown in the rectangles after GPIO. So for instance, a pin that says GPIO 3, it's number 3, right? GPIO 5, it's number 5, and so on. So that's a different numbering. So you got to select the mode, which one of those two modes you want to use, or else you can't refer to the pins. So you use GPIO set mode to do that. In this case, this line up here, we're saying GPIO set mode GPIO.board. So GPIO.board means the numbering that we're using is the board-based numbering, the numbers in the circles, right? So that's one way to number, and that's how you would do it. You do that at the beginning of your code. Another numbering mode is the BCM mode, Broadcom SoC numbering mode. Now that's, like I said, the number after the word GPIO on the pin name in the rectangles. So you can use that too. You can just give, as an argument to the set mode, you give GPIO.BCM, and it'll use that numbering. The catch with that, it's sometimes nice, but the catch with that is that it can change from model to model of the Raspberry Pi. So so we're going to end up using the GPIO.board, but note that you could use either numbering that you wanted to use. Thank you.